feel like I should move over here.
We'll be playing it during the service in reception. I mean, do you want to play it more?
Well, yeah, only if it's over, just let it finish, please.
Okay.
That was a beautiful presentation. Beautiful. So, welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Kathleen Fowler, and I am a retired Unitarian Universalist minister and a longtime member of this congregation. I want to extend a warm welcome to each of you for gathering here today to honor the lives of two individuals who have touched our hearts in so many ways, Jim and Judy Tuff. Friends and neighbors, we are here on this cold afternoon, this cold, snowy afternoon in mid-December, to lift up their lives to our enduring memories and ample love. Each of us are on different journeys in life. Some of us have progressed down the road further than others. We grieve in different ways. We come from many different family styles. We each look at the mystery of life and death in different ways, sparking diverse dialects of spirit. Yet this afternoon, we share one thing in common. At one point or another, to small degree or large, the lives of Judy and Jim have been woven into our lives, either directly or through their relationships with others whom we know. And so we turn aside from the accustomed way of Saturday afternoon in December to turn toward the lives of two who were once among us and who now have departed. One way to honor this and to honor them is through the bagpipe music, honoring Jim's Scottish heritage with the help of Mick Trenor. Mick? And now we come time to light the chalice. Would Pearl Hemsley and Todd Hemsley please come forward to light our chalice? And I'm going to ask you to hold it for just a minute, and I'll let you know.
Yep. Do we have matches?
We light this flaming chalice this afternoon to honor Jim and Judy, sorry. And yet its beginnings have special significance. During the Nazi era in Europe, the Lisbon office of the newly formed Unitarian Service Committee had a special mission. Lisbon, the only open port in Europe in the early 40s, was a preferred destination for millions of refugees, many without identification papers. The Service Committee created travel documents with the seal of the flaming chalice, allowing immigrants to pass to the New World through the British blockade. Thus, these papers certified that they were politically safe and sound. Now, if you would like to light the chalice, I'm going to have you use, I think that we'll just use, wait a minute. No, go from here. Go from here. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, okay. Thank you. We light this chalice, which transforms wax into pure light and warmth, to remind us of our own living, transforming the stuff of this world into the love and activity of our daily lives. As this flame burns brightly, let us remember the brightness that Judy and Jim brought to our lives. Now it's time for a reading, so I invite Michael White to come forward and please share Merrit Mallory's Epitaph. And you can stand down there.
Good afternoon. Hello? When I die, give what's left of me away to children and to old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you with something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
And Jen, would you please come forward to help us know your parents in your special way?
Does anybody know how to do these things? Ooh. Do I even need this? Because I'm pretty loud. Yeah? Okay. Thank you for coming today. I know there's a lot of people who are watching by streaming on YouTube, so thank you for joining us. This has been a really difficult thing, but I want to thank my husband, especially for helping me with this and taking care of my parents the last year of their lives. And my daughter, of course, who's here, Pearl. And my dear friends, Toby, Marie, Jean, and Michael, of course. So many of you have known me for so long, so I appreciate you coming today in this horrible weather. So how do I memorialize and honor the two most important people of my life? I could never say enough or express enough about what amazing human beings they were. We were so lucky to know them. They were funny, kind, compassionate, creative, intelligent, progressive, and just all around really good people. I think everybody would say that about them. They lived their lives through empathy and compassion, sharing all they had and striving to make the world a better, more just, and equitable place for all. My sister Jackie and I, Jackie, who's watching on YouTube right now in Port Townsend, Washington, we were so lucky to have them as parents, and I'm so full of gratitude. And as many of you know, after death comes a parade of memories, and I'd like to share some of them with you. One that stands out a lot for me is just driving here to the Unitarian Church as kids, and we had this horrible old opal white wagon that was covered in peace stickers, and my mom used to blast Crosby, Stills and Nash or Simon and Garfunkel, and she was a teacher here at SYC. My parents were pretty beatniky, as a lot of our parents and you guys were, who are still around. When we lived in Scotland, my dad was invited there by a pretty famous physicist to work on low temperature physics experiments. So we were there when I was 7 and 8. And one of the things that I remember the most is my dad making fun of Jackie and I because we never wanted to go see more castles on the weekends. It was such a horrible thing, right, to go see castles. Or the travel to Europe. My parents took us all over the place. We went to Africa, we went to Spain, we went everywhere. We rode camels in the Sahara. It was just amazing. My parents really taught us a lot. I also remember with so much fondness, as probably many of you do, his incredible gardens. My dad had the most amazing gardens. And here in Ohio, he had these peonies. Peonies are still my favorite flower. And they were so sweet and so pungent that little ants used to crawl all over them. One of the final gardens that he built in Port Townsend in Washington, my mom and him built a little fairy garden for Pearl, and they used to leave notes for the fairies had sent her. His gardens were just incredible. And growing up here in the summertime is one of the things I remember so much. And of course, my dad's garden with all the zucchini and the tomatoes, and my mom trying to come up with as many recipes as possible for zucchinis, and she just couldn't give up. And she finally said, stop growing zucchinis, Jim. I can't handle it anymore. I mean, we literally had like a whole freezer full of zucchini. Everything, zucchini bread, stuffed zucchini. I'm sure you guys got some of the zucchini overflow as well. I remember my dad's lab over at Ohio State, which was just crazy. We used to go and roll. He used to take a thermos full of liquid nitrogen and roll it down the hallway, and it would roll in these little balls. Or we'd freeze balloons or roses or flowers or whatever. It was a very interesting way to grow up. Actually, we just went over to Smith Lab over at Ohio State this morning and checked it out. I also remember, and I know they talked very fondly to the very end about all their wonderful friends. What we called the BBTs, the Benny Bob Tarwater Society. And they had the craziest parties, which you saw some of those on the film there. Camping at Houston Woods was one of the things I remembered so much, like we all do. And the crazy parties, the parting of the Red Sea, which was the sprinkler in our front yard in Arlington, which went over really well with our neighbors. Actually, they were very, very tolerant of all the crazy parties. Many times my parents said there was a great trade-off moving from Seattle to Columbus. My dad got his PhD at University of Washington, and as the family lore went, my mom cried for 3 days when she got a postcard of downtown Columbus in 1965, which was just the Lincoln Levesque Tower. And so they had to leave Seattle and the Cascades to come here. But she said the trade-off was worth it because of all the amazing friends that they made right here in this building. And friends till the very end, as you guys know. So I want to talk about what I remember about my parents. What I remember about my mom was her love and patience. She was so warm and kind to everyone. She really was the kindest person on earth. She didn't have a mean bone in her body. She was always up for an adventure. She was very adventurous. She's kind of quiet, kind of soft-spoken lots of times. But she was always up for it. She lived with me in Guatemala when we were adopting Pearl. And she stayed down there for months. She had an amazing passion for progressive education. And one of their trips to Japan, she got to visit, they have a lot of progressive programs there in Japan, and one of her favorite memories of her life was going to some progressive schools there. What I remember about my dad was his amazing sense of humor, endless curiosity about the world around him. You couldn't go anywhere with my dad without him poking, looking at things, trying to figure out how things worked. He was, really intellectually difficult to keep up with. But he really was a Renaissance man. He was extremely talented jazz musician in his 20s, master gardener, genealogist, physicist, inventor. He always had a project. And lots of times people would say, how did you and Jackie, my sister, get to be artists? How did you get to be so creative? But my father was extremely creative. He was a very creative man. As a matter of fact, when I opened the gallery in Santa Fe, he was the first show that we did. He helped me hang it. He helped us decide where everything would be. And he was great. Even though he had a pocket protector, he still had a real visual sense about him. So my parents were together since my dad asked to carry my mom's books in high school. right after English class, and they were rarely apart from that day forward. So they were together for 70 years total, married for 64. They never fought, rarely argued, and they truly, truly enjoyed each other to the very, very end. They spent every moment together. I mean, they just loved it. They loved being together, and they really lived life to the fullest. In closing, I'd like to say a few things that I believe my parents would want me to say on their behalf if they were still here, many of which were garnered from their journals that I went through after they passed and our conversations in their final year. To our colleagues, thank you for allowing us to grow into the people we wanted to be professionally and intellectually. Being part of something greater than ourselves was one of our greatest gifts in life. To our neighbors on Andover Road here in Columbus, thank you for being the best neighbors a family could ask for, sharing your wonderful children with ours, all the extra tomatoes, the block parties, and putting up with our crazy parties. To our friends and neighbors in Port Townsend, Washington, who a lot of them are watching right now, thank you for the wonderful memories, the meals, the laughs, and sharing one of the most beautiful and special places on earth with us. This one's gonna be hard. To Drew, thank you very much for your tireless support and love for our family. My parents were able to pass away with serenity because of him. You're a gift. To Kathy, Fred, Shannon, and Lindsay, we love you so much. There's never enough time. May your life continue to be filled with joy, peace, and wonderful adventures to come. To Joey, Grant, Reed, Sonia, and Luke, live big and follow your bliss. And to the members of the Benny Bob Tarwater Society, the Carp and Chip Society, the BBT Cubs, and members of the Mare Nostrum Society, never has there been a greater group of friends. Thank you for the lifetime of laughs, crazy costume parties, camping trips, sailing, joy, sorrow, frivolity, and general madness we shared over the years. Ely and Nor forever. And by the way, who has the Torah?
That was very beautiful. Beautiful. And now, Todd, will you come forward and fill our air today with the beauty of Robert Burns' A Red, Red Rose?
Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. So far art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love I am, and I will love thee still, my dear, till the seas gang dry, till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, will I love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run, and fare thee well, my only love, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 miles.
I now invite you into a time of silence. Allow the sounds of the bell that I will ring to usher you into a place of contemplation or simply to be aware of your breath. Allow this time of quietness to flow through you, turning your thoughts to the energy of what sustains you. And may you find peace in these moments. And the family is now inviting others to share memories of Jim and Judy. If you would prefer to stay there and speak, I can bring the mic to you, or feel free to come forward. I know there's lots of stories.
Hi, I'm Fritz Stocker. Of course, I was a BBT and knew Jim and Judy since I was a pretty young kid. And I went through a phase when I was about 10 or 11 where I started collecting magic tricks and learning about magic. And I remember my dad used to take me down to Nelson's Magic Shop downtown, and that was always a treat. And I remember, I can't remember the occasion, but Jim and Judy were over at our house, and I ran up to Jim all excited, and I had a card trick I was going to show him. And I got about halfway through the card trick, and he told me exactly what I was going to do the next thing. And I was crestfallen. And, you know, just, so, you know, thank you very much. And 2 or 3 days later, he showed up at our house, and he had this enormous box full of magic tricks that he had gathered over the course of his life from when he was a young man. And these were really nice tricks. These were way nicer than the tricks that I had assembled. And he gave them to me, and he said, you know, you have a talent for this and an interest in this, so here you go. And I used those tricks and gave magic shows in the neighborhood, in basements and garages, 25 cents admission. And in fact, I hauled many of the tricks out to San Diego with me when I moved to San Diego 40 years ago. And over the years, gave them away, and they're all gone. But I want to say, those tricks would have gone to Jackie and Jen, but Jim gave them to me because he felt so badly about this tiny incident. That is a distinct memory I have of your dad.
I have this pin down here. I'm Michael White, for those out there. Does it work okay? Yeah, there we go. I have 2 memories that I would like to share. Jim and Judy were very, very close friends with my parents, and most of you know I've lost both my parents as well in the same time frame. One of the things that I remember about Jim is that he was always the most inquisitive and encouraging person to explore the world. I listened to his stories about how Scotland was and what to do, and that actually became one of the ethos in my life. So from that perspective, Jim was somebody who encouraged me quite a bit. And Judy and my mom, my gosh, they would sit on the phone and talk for hours and hours and hours. And Mom and Judy would meet up every once in a while once they moved to Port Townsend, and they called themselves Thelma and Louise. And they would go on a road trip and drive. And I'll never forget that they went to Durango, Colorado. And both, my mother was an angel. Somehow she convinced Judy to walk into a dispensary to see what it was all about, okay? And that's my mother and Judy and her thing. And my mother would never have gone into a dispensary to even understand anything. But Thelma and Louise, to them, we applaud them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Battenberg, and I'm an original member of the BBT Society. Two things. Starting in 2000, the year 2000, we gathered together all the original BBTs for a reunion somewhere in the United States where we could get cabins, housekeeping cabins, and we'd gather for a week and go off on adventures. The one thing I remember about Jim, when we were in Durango, Colorado, and there was a stream running right behind our cabins, Jim would be out there almost every day with his fly rod casting, and I never saw him catch a fish. With Judy, when we used to have these parties, as you know, and we called it the North Branch and the South Branch house and garden parties. And one time we played games, and the game was called Giggle Belly. I don't know if any of you remember that, but the idea was, and I can remember this, I was lying on the floor on my back, and Judy was standing on my stomach, seeing if I could laugh. And of course I could, you know, and she's shaking. Anyhow.
With your dad on it. And he had a show called Adopt a Child a Day. And we had 2 biological children, and I saw one of those shows with babies sitting all around him, and I decided I wanted one. And then I went and got one. And his name is Matt, and he's my youngest son.
And I remember Judy from being at SYC. And she was there before I was, and I came after her. But Janet regaled us with tales of the BB. Yeah. Over the years, we heard all the tales. And so I sort of feel like I know a little bit about it. Oh, well, that's okay. So anyway, I'm related to SYC, and she was there at the beginning of SYC, right at the start of everything for us at SYC. So.
And Stephanie was a director, and I was a director.
Yeah.
So that's our relationship to SYC and those people.
But Janet loved Judy dearly.
Jackie's watching. We're the 2 original SYC babes. Okay, Jackie, if you're watching out there, I hope that you remember those times when we were 6 years of age and the original class of SYC.
So thank you. Thank you very much for your presence, for your speaking here. You have made me feel Judy and Jim's presence in this room. It's a true gift. Today we stitch together our memories of these 2 loving people, incorporating beautiful music, the warmth of a glowing candle, words of love, all bordered with the echoes of silence. Let the beauty of this quilt created here remain with you, carried in your heart, offering its gifts over and over, and thus out into the world where it is sorely needed. So be it, and blessed be. And would a family member come forward to extinguish our chalice?
Should I just leave it in there?
No, just sit it here. We have come to share the loss that we have felt in the absence of Judy and Jim in this world, and some examples of the joy that we carry from their lives that we heard about. This we have done. And after we extinguish the chalice, I want to acknowledge that we will not, that we cannot extinguish the love they showed us, or the memory of them, or the love that we carry forward. So may it be.